welcome to Doors and Corners, a sci-fi and fantasy film commentary podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Zach. And every Friday we sit down and watch a science fiction or fantasy film and give our 2 cents on its quality, production, story, and trivia.
We watch the film together, but without sounds or visuals provided to avoid copyright issues. But if you do have access, we encourage you to join us and follow along.
Here, we like to keep things casual, and there may be discussions of spoilers or sensitive materials or language. But we do try and keep things clean and family-friendly. Ultimately, the goal of this podcast is to create the experience of us all sitting down and watching this movie together.
So get ready to hit that play button, because we're about to get started.
Damn Doors and Corners, I mean, that's where they get you.
Welcome back to Doors and Corners. I'm Brian.
I'm Zach.
And tonight, we have a sequel. We have a sequel that is both not nearly as good as the movie that came before, but also, in my opinion, a little unfairly judged, but it's interesting. I'm looking forward to the conversation, because we are following up Predator with Predator 2, a really creatively titled movie.
Yeah, I'm actually a really big fan of when movies just are just like, you know what? We don't need to add some sort of subtitle. This is just a 2. Let's go.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
because sometimes subtitles are pretty good. I personally think, as much as I love the movie, I hate the title Captain America Winter Soldier.
You would have just
I don't like it.
See, the only reason why, it's for me, it's like you either commit to it or you don't. And like Captain America had the first Avenger, and so they just like committed to, you know what, we're not going to do numbers. It's just going to be. But then you have like Iron Man, which is just a number. Thor.
I know that it was unavoidable due to the first Avenger.
Yeah, but I don't mind the number. It's always one of those things where, like, if you do it, and this is actually, as we get into this, I think this is a really good example of a sequel. Like you were talking last week about Predator, just like, hey, what if we just do, Predator sequels? It shouldn't be that hard. Just put it in a different setting. And in a lot of ways, on paper, like this movie is the one that kind of does that really well. Where it's like,
this one and Prey are exactly what I want to see from that type of sequel. My issue with this movie is that I don't like how it's actually done. It's an entirely a me thing. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into it. I'm just saying, like, I knew you were going to bring that up, and you are 100% right.
But it's, there are, and to be fair, I will, right off the bat, I just want to clear this up, because I think I brought this up last week, that there's a weird, maybe last week, the week before, or the week before. Either way, I remember talking about the idea that, movies that kind of are unfairly judged and they kind of swing too far. And, because I was listening to Dan Murrell talk about Speed Racer. Dan Murrell, podcast, YouTuber, really, really cool movie guy. Anyways, and how the idea that certain movies that, if you said you can sit down and have lunch with a YouTuber that you watch on a regular basis, like pick one, he would easily be like top 3 for me.
I do the Caravan of Garbage guys.
See, I both love them and I'm annoyed by them.
Same.
They're very entertaining, but I struggle sometimes to know, is that an actual criticism or are you just poking fun for the sake of poking fun? Because there's been plenty of times where they criticize something and I'm like, did you even watch this movie? Like, or did somebody not explain to you how simply like that is explained? And there are times where I'm just like, I feel like they take cheap, and I don't know if it's because they're just being funny or what. I like, they are very talented. They are very funny.
I really enjoy their bullshit.
But I think and again, I have no idea. He's on the internet. You never know. But I genuinely feel like I could just enjoy nerding out over film for a couple hours with Dan Murrell. So.
Oh, I'd agree with that. Dan Murrell and Jeremy Johns are my favorite reviewers at this point.
Yeah. And Jeremy Johns definitely is more entertaining. He focuses on those quick, he's very witty and he has his whole kind of brand. But he also, I feel like, is fairly fair.
Yes.
Anyways, before we get into a YouTube podcast, but he was bringing up just the idea of, it can swing too far sometimes. And I was comparing this before we started recording to our episode about Punisher Warzone as a movie that we both really enjoyed. And I mean, I really enjoyed it way more than I thought I would. And it ratcheted up, my opinion of that movie ratcheted up quite a bit, including where I would rank it in the Predator movies and the Predator franchise on film. And this movie is an example to me of, if you go online, people like claiming that it's like as good as the first one or like just this underrated masterpiece. Like, it's not. Did it get a fair shake at the time? I mean, if you go back and you read some of the like professional critics of the time, you do want to ask them like, what movie did you think you were going to see? Like, did you watch the first one? Do you understand like the tone of these? And at the same time, it's not a masterpiece. And somebody who thinks it's a masterpiece, like, it might be a masterpiece for you because it has exactly what you want. But the first movie is objectively an amazing action film. This is a sequel with some really cool stuff in it and some really cool ideas, but it still definitely has some issues, and I'm sure we'll get into them. So that's in broad strokes. That's my feelings on this movie. I enjoyed watching it again this week in prep for this, and I don't, there's some movies where it's like, all right, let's get through this. This isn't a movie like that for me. But after tonight, I will probably not watch this movie again for many, 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 many years.
Yeah, it's one of those films for me where I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's a great film. I've never turned it off.
There you go. All right.
Yeah. Like, I've seen it on TV. I'm like, they're showing Predator 2. Like, I remember sitting in a hotel room with my wife and we're zipping through channels and I'm like, Predator 2 is on. I'm going to sit here and watch Predator 2. That's the only time I did turn it off, but it wasn't my choice.
Yeah. And I think it helps that The Predator is a worse film and Requiem is a worse film.
And I think Alien versus Predator would be considered a worse film as well, even though I do think that one is better than people give it credit for.
Yeah. No, I think this movie has a rawness to it and this is a much more visceral film. Alien versus Predator is a little slick. It has that.
It's toned down for a PG-13, which is just one of its great problems.
Yeah, this movie had to be toned down to not be NC-17. So, yeah, and it's funny. I mentioned I actually did a lot of research on this movie, and the director has said in multiple interviews that people are like, oh, I want to see that version of the film. It's got to be like the director has said, like, it was weird the things that the studio was worried about. The MPAA, is that the right organization?
Yep, MPAA.
Yeah, that the cuts they cared about like didn't matter, like, because it was just trimming little things. He's like, there was nothing of substance lost. It was just different examples of exactly how you lingered on certain corpses and stuff like that. He's like, we didn't have to like cut out a plot point or no, you get to see you don't get to look at the skinless corpse quite as long. You don't get the naked girl quite as long, like that kind of stuff. And he's repeatedly said that, so the idea that this is like, there's a hidden cut of this film that's, like the Snyder cut version of the 90s or apparently or whatever, like that's, according to the director, that's BS. And that this movie is just, it was toned down to hit rated R. They actually briefly toyed with the idea of, is if they had just not done it, they would have been the first NC-17 movie ever released in the United States. But Fox was like, no, we actually want to make some money on this thing.
Yeah. And they did. They made a profit, but not a healthy enough profit for them to want to do it again.
Well, this was a clear example. We talked about this more than once. This, like today, this would have never, like, this would have been considered a much bigger bomb today. At the time, this made enough money in theaters to then, with home video and selling the rights to NBC or whoever did the TV version of this and all that, this movie made money. Money wasn't lost, but it definitely. I think if this movie had been critically received really well, I bet you would have had a sequel faster, because it didn't lose money, but because it didn't hit nearly the same level as the first. And it was really panned. I think that was the if one of those had changed, if it had been critics hated it, but it made tons of money, studios don't care. They make movies critics hate all the time. And if critics had loved it, but it had broken even, I think we would have seen another one, at least a lot sooner. But when you have both those things happen, that's hard to overcome.
Yep. The interesting thing about this movie, this series, I should say, is that it made way more money not from the movies.
Oh, all the tie-ins.
Like, yeah, all their tie-in stuff, all the merchandise, and not just like toys and things, but comics and books and video games
Wasn't there
were
like
huge.
four? Wasn't like four versions of video games based on this, or three maybe? It's like three or four.
There's
There
like
was,
four versions of video games based on Predator 2 by itself, but that was
Yeah.
actually very common for the time. If you went and looked at like Die Hard,
Oh yeah, there's
Terminator 2, stuff
There's a
like that,
generic
there's like
Nintendo version,
six
all those.
different versions.
yeah.
For different systems, because you had things like the Commodore 64, you had the Amiga, you had the newer consoles like Sega's and Super Nintendo and Game Boy, and each one is going to have a different version of. So sometimes even just completely different games. Sometimes different versions of the same game, toned up or toned down.
Well, I remember the first version of this game, like the main launch one that came out at the same time. Like they couldn't have death, so like you shot guys and they fell over backwards and disappeared. It was like this weird. And then later they were able to make. I think that was a Nintendo version, and Nintendo's also kind of infamously anti, adult violence in their games, at least. And to a certain extent, they still are actually, weirdly. But
Yeah, to an extent.
yeah, but like the Sega version was like literally body parts would like fly at the screen when a civilian was killed. You didn't get to him in time. So Sega was like, you can do whatever you want. Actually, I think that might have been Fox also that at that point, because it was like a year later and they didn't care at that point. I know there's a mixture of game companies, but also the studio. Yeah. Okay, this is a weird trivia thing, and I'm sorry if I'm stealing this from you, but I heard this. I'm like, that's just funny. So this year, 1990, Predator 2 comes out. The director of this is, made his name doing Nightmare on Elm Street 5. 1990 also was Die Hard 2, which was directed by the guy who did Nightmare on Elm Street 4. So you had two action sequels the same year, both directed by guys who only had done something of note in the Nightmare of Elm Street series, that both made these movies, sequels to big 80s action films released in 1990. It was just one of those like odd little coincidences that I found interesting in my research.
You see, it's interesting because I didn't actually know that about the Nightmare on Elm Street connection. I did read all about how like this was going up against RoboCop 2 and Die Hard 2.
Yeah, this was the summer of sequels.
It was the summer of those big 80s sequels. And I found that really interesting and funny. I also found it really funny that this movie lost its two biggest strengths, depending on who you ask, for a good box office, so that much more better, more legendary films could be made. And specifically, John McTiernan, the director. Yeah, John McTiernan, the director. He left the project because he was interested in doing another one, but he was like, nope, I want to make this other movie, which is one that we've covered in the form of The Hunt for Red October.
I'm not going to be mad about that.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're not going to be mad about the fact that when they couldn't come to an agreement about salary, it was Arnold Schwarzenegger left in order to do Terminator 2.
Yeah. Both of those.
So,
very good movies.
Not just good movies, but masterpieces of their genre.
Yeah.
And it's like this movie suffered so that those movies could live.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's a bummer, but oh, thank God that it went that way.
Yeah. I mean, both those movies are just amazing and very high on my personal lists. But I do think that there was some ingredients in this movie that worked really well. I mean, Joel Silver was very influential in this film, especially with casting, bringing in. This is almost like a get together of everybody from Lethal Weapon, sans Mel Gibson, and
Well, this time it's Danny Glover playing both of them.
Yeah. And I have a soft spot for Gary Busey. The guy's crazy, but he just has this like manic energy about him when he acts that I find highly entertaining.
Well, we'll talk about it more when we get there, but he's crazy for a reason. So,
but yeah, we should
talk about that.
Yeah. Well, why don't you hit us with the overview of those sweet deets, and then we're gonna hit play in a few minutes.
This is Predator 2, 1990. I was still a year and a half away from being born. Rated R, 1 hour and 48 minutes long. Brisk. I love it.
I missed the sub 2 hour film.
Right? Directed by Stephen Hopkins. I always want to say Hawkins. It's Hopkins. Written by Jim and John Thomas. And yes, they are related. Once again, these are the same guys as the original. They helped writing for Prey, but they also helped writing for Wild Wild West. Top cast, we have Danny Glover, Gary Busey, and the return of Kevin Peter Hall as the Predator, as well as Bill Paxton, Maria Conchita Alonso, Robert Davi, Adam Baldwin, and there was somebody else I was going to mention, but I can't read my own handwriting. Ruben Blades. That was it. Ruben Blades, who was apparently so popular in his own home country as a singer that the director got death threats when people found out that his character died.
It's a Predator film. Most of the people die. Yeah,
Panama. That was it.
This has a honestly, not a stacked cast in terms of like just massive stars, but it has a big cast of like, oh, it's that guy. Oh, it's that guy. Because yeah, I mean Robert Davi,
Adam Baldwin's in there too. I didn't
in
mention him, but he's not really a star.
Well, no, you did mention him. I had forgotten he was in this. When I watched this again, I was like, oh, that's right, a very young looking Adam Baldwin. Because the only thing of note he had done before this was Full Metal Jacket, and obviously he went on to he was not a star in, but he was in Independence Day, a lot of TV work, Firefly, Chuck. There was
The Last Ship.
I mean, he's, nerds know him well, mostly from Firefly. But much longer than I'd care to admit. I assumed he was one of the Baldwin brothers. He is not. Just the same last name. And, but yeah, I mean, Robert Davi is, a staple of this era. He plays the same character every time, basically. But, I
never really realized that was him. I mostly remember him from being a recurring villain in the TV show Stargate Atlantis, and also being a recurring voice in the awful corporate teach you random things about cybersecurity trainings that hundreds and thousands of corporations around the United States use in order to teach their people not to give away passwords, called Ninjago or Ninjago. And
I did not know anything about that.
I didn't until I worked for an IT tech firm, and every now and again they're just like, you need to take one of these, and I'll have starring this person, and I'm like, I have no idea who that is. And then the one that I did, I'm like, it's Kolya. And for those of you who don't know, he played a character by the name of Kolya in the TV show Stargate Atlantis.
Yeah, he was that two-parter of Atlantis was pretty darn good, actually. I mean, that was Atlantis did Die Hard, so
it had its rough spots, but that is also has a special place in my memory, as that is literally the very first episode of Stargate I ever saw.
Really? Wow, what an introduction. Yeah, the first part of that two-parter I really enjoyed. I thought it was like Shepard kind of getting to, just he had some cool moments. He also had a real advantage with the life forms detector. But anyways, I digress.
Mm-hmm. But it was the life science detector.
But he had I remember that was the episode that I was like, I like Shepard. I mean, he's not a perfect character. He's definitely, a Neo light in a lot of ways. But the first half of that episode, I liked him, running around, this P90 and his life science detector, and just taking dudes out. And it was cool. But he was, I mean, obviously, Die Hard. He was Agent Johnson. He appeared in a lot of other, he was, and his face is very distinct. But I mean, he was a staple of this era. Gary Busey, obviously, a lot of, 48 Hours, Lethal Weapon, a lot of big roles at the time, very similar in tone, but, he just doing his thing. And, Danny Glover is somebody who I respect very much as an actor. And I didn't actually, hear this in any interview, but I always wondered, because he had done, I believe, the first two Lethal Weapons at this point. I think he had done the first two, and then obviously he did 3 and 4 after this. But
Correct.
if he was just, because a lot of people don't realize he has an old face. He was much younger in Lethal Weapon than he was playing, as far as just his physical age. You know, he was playing the grumpy old man, but he was, you know, much younger. And if he was like, I've always wanted to play Riggs. I've always, you know, it'd be fun to play the guy who is flying off the handle, the guy who's just, you know, telling the captain to go F himself, you know, just that kind of stuff. And also, he did say in a few interviews that I read that he got himself into great shape for this movie. It was one of the, you know, like he said, it was kind of the best he had ever been. And just really, Danny Glover really got into this and really embraced this and really tried hard. And I do think that shows. Whether you like his choices or not, I feel like he didn't just phone this movie in. And I wonder if he was just like, here's my chance to, you know, to go full Mel Gibson in a way, in a performance.
Yeah.
And he's a good actor. He has definitely an intensity about him. You know, he has just this, you know, his face. He's able to really give you some. And there's a few moments in this movie that I think really showcase just he's a better actor than if you just thought, oh, he's just, you know, the funny guy from Lethal Weapon. He's a good actor. And I do wonder if there's, you know, the alternate universe. I saw this in 2 different retrospectives of in Predators, if instead of Lawrence Fishburne, if it had been him, how that would have been received. I think that it could have been kind of cool.
Yeah.
Anyways.
I honestly believe he was probably approached for it. I have similar feelings about another actor. His name went right out of my head. He's the black guy from Ghostbusters.
I know I can picture him immediately. I forget his name.
Ernie Hudson.
Okay, yeah.
Ernie Hudson. I recently watched the movie Congo, which is a terrible movie, but he is so good in that movie. I want to see. It's such a loss that there wasn't some sort of like action adventure themed movie series starring just Ernie Hudson, and I feel very similar about Danny Glover. They're just so fantastic, and they deserve to be leading men more than they got.
Yeah, well, because this was also. I know. Sorry, we're talking a lot here at the beginning. I feel like this movie deserves more credit for because people think, oh, you know, it's the 90s, things are really moving along. It was very rare. I mean, this is pre Wesley Snipes really kind of.
Everybody says Wesley Snipes. It's not Wesley Snipes. It was Will Smith in Men in Black. I'll die on that hill.
As far as like making his name as like an African American guy being an action hero. Well, when was the first Blade? Because Men in Black was 96. Okay, interesting. But this was, I mean, the thing is, this was 90. Like, this was a major release. And, I mean, without, there wasn't any like, oh, you know, no, he is front and center the hero of this. Like, he kills the Predator easier than Arnold Schwarzenegger did. It's actually one of the problems I have.
The Predator who's been shot to pieces.
Yeah, by Danny Glover. You know, anyways, when we get to it, that's actually I do not like the resolution of this movie in some ways. So, but I'll save that for when we get there. But anyways, I do think that this movie, you know, was ahead of its time in that era of kind of going against type. But we'll talk about it while we get into it, because there's a lot to
there's more to talk about there, and we got to start.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to be able to say this movie runs a nice hour and 47 minutes and some seconds there, but gonna hit that play button.
8 minutes of which is credits. So.
Yeah. Oh man, Alan Silvestri coming back to do music was great too.
Yes.
There's some moments in this that like musically are really good.
Agreed.
The one where he's walking through the water. Ooh. Anyways,
Play the movie.
All right. Gonna hit that play button in 3, 2, 1, go.
Play. Yeah, I was reading a lot about the casting of Danny Glover because like there was pushback from the studio. They didn't want him, but this is also because this was the era of when they started releasing American movies very heavily in China and Japan. And not to stir any pots, but the fact is, even to this day, they don't make a lot of money with movies over there with black lead leads. Black leads is what I meant to say, not black lead. That was one of the issues that people pointed out with the Star Wars The Force Awakens, is that they really vastly played down the character of Finn in all the advertising for China and Japan. And so, given those markets were becoming so good for filmmaking, especially in the early 90s, they were like, ooh, do we want to put a black actor? Because they don't like that and it's not going to sell well.
Yeah. Sorry, I know I might get us in trouble, but I just have to say this. I thought only Americans were capable of being racist.
Go look into why the Stop Asian Hate movement died. Anyway, so
we'll
we
move
have
on.
This...
Yes, one thing I heard brought up a few times and here with the Predator vision that I kind of agree with is the old school kind of analog style heat vision. Obviously, it looks much slicker now. There is something kind of cool about this. Yeah, the heat vision here at the beginning, and whenever they go to the Predator vision, where it almost looks like it's being played on a VCR that is weirdly. It just kind of is almost like part of the tone of these films.
Yeah, I actually think that this is the best the heat vision is in the whole series.
But this whole opening sequence, though, this is a banger of an opening. I mean, this is the
weirdly prophetic.
Yeah, but also one of those movies where this movie was released in 1990 and it was set in the future of 1997. And so they're trying to project a little bit of what the future is going to be like. But obviously, it's one of the reasons why all the leads have stupid crap attached to their guns. I know you wanted to talk about the firearms, and I definitely want to get into that too. I actually went through the Internet Firearms Database yesterday and was like, I got to review all these because this is ridiculous. But that was part of the justification for it was because they wanted, it's going to look futuristic. So we're going to put this, silver, laser sight that's as big as the gun underneath it because, that's what the future is going to be like.
Yeah. But that's one of the things. So I don't like the aesthetic of this movie at all.
Okay.
There's a couple major things. One is the weird pseudo-futurism that you see with the guns and some of the technology that just doesn't really work for me. I don't think that there was a really good enough reason for them to set it in the future. And then it was also, I hate LA. I hate LA. I think it's
more
a
than New York
city. They're kind of even and for different ways.
You really don't like New York also.
I've never been to New York, but New York is just always the center of everything. Every Marvel movie. Okay, Stanley, we know you lived in New York. Not every hero has to be based out of New York, but they are. I've lived in LA. I don't like it as a place. I hate the heat. I don't like how sweaty this movie is. It makes me feel warm just watching this movie, and I hate the heat. I'm a cold weather person.
But doesn't that mean the movie was effective because a big part of this movie is that it's a heat wave?
And I give it that 100%. I don't like watching it very much because of that.
Now, one of the things I read, I'm curious if you heard the same thing or if this tracks for you, is that they said it in 97 because the first movie was 87 and it's supposed to be every 10 years the Predators come down and do a little safari.
Yeah, they did want to establish something like that. That's since been mostly abandoned.
Yeah.
That's something that the Predator tried to continue with, which is one of the problems with that movie because it tries to ignore Alien versus Predator and then features some of its actual props from Alien versus Predator, so they can take that as well. But it's that is also something that came over from some of the comics and extra books that became very popular, and the director, which I greatly respect him for, really liked and used and referenced a lot in the making of this movie.
So I read that this might have been a subtle dig at Arnold, because when he pulls out there that long slide 45, which is the gun that from the first Terminator, it says too small.
45 long slide's a good gun.
Oh yeah. But then proceeds to do this heavily modified Beretta he's got. Not Beretta, Benelli.
Yeah, he pulls out this Benelli shotgun, which is just the Benelli is the king of pump action shotguns in a lot of ways. I love a Remington 870 personally, but you can't really deny that Benelli just knocked it out of the park with their pump action 12 gauges.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Well, they're
but
Italian.
it has the little scope on it. And what's the use of a scope on a cut down shotgun?
Yeah, there's nothing.
Like,
Well,
you're not going to hit anything.
Yeah, well, like every hero gun has a laser sight of some kind on this.
Ugh.
I mean, I love firearms, and I hate pretty much every firearm in this movie.
Yeah.
It's just yeah. Well, I mean, the fact that I'm not IMDb, the IMF.
I am FDB.
I'm FDB. They were it's
Like Impossible Missions Force database.
nice.
Okay.
But they were saying, well, at least it was consistent in its inaccuracy because every time he fires is Benelli, he fires 10 rounds, and considering
that's like a 6.
Oh, with the cut down tube like that, that tube is like a 3-round tube. That thing, loaded is probably a 4-round shotgun. But
Goodness gracious.
it's just like one of those, like, all right, well, at least they're consistent with their inaccuracies. But it
I'll
also
be totally
has
honest, when I was watching this the first time, I genuinely thought that it was actually like a 10 gauge, but it's because it's so big in his hands.
Yeah.
There they are using Steyr autos, which was kind of like the P90 of their day, where people, it's futuristic. We got to give them this gun. Steyr autos,
AUG.
bullpup. Oh, sorry, AUG. Thank you.
Yep, there you go.
I always mix up the Steyr and the AUG for some reason.
Yeah.
Like, I know the differences, but I say one and mean the other.
Yeah, and his Desert Eagle, I mean, very prominently. Of course, it's not a 50 cal Desert Eagle; it's a 357 Magnum Desert Eagle. But just the ridiculous,
which are way easier to shoot.
Oh yeah, but there's just the ridiculously large sight on that. I forget the character's name already, but the woman, her, it's just a Frig 226. Sorry, a Frig, a Sig 226, but it's got this like massively oversized. Now, wasn't this guy like a stuntman that was like pretty famous for doing little bits of acting here and there?
Yes, that is correct. I would need to look up his
Horrible
name.
trigger discipline, by the way. All of them have their fingers in the trigger wells.
I honestly don't expect,
Oh no!
a bunch of
Of this
Colombian
era,
have to,
of this. No,
his name is Henry King.
Okay.
LA native. Stuntman in all kinds of stuff, both as stunt coordinator and stunt actor, and he has done bit parts, cameos, and small roles in almost 100 different things.
Yeah, he nailed that little. I mean, the coke just all over his face, and just like, oh man, that look he got. I don't know, what they did to his teeth, but like, it is an epic, just shot right there. It's great. Oh man. But it's just, the ridiculously large flashlight on the bottom of his Browning. It's just, everything is stupid. The laser sight on the bottom of that SIG that she's carrying is just, one, it's visibly like not even aligned with the bore axis. So it just is badly mounted. And this poor cop randomly just like gets, nobody could shoot this guy.
And the idea of mini Uzi magazines lasting that long?
Oh,
goodness gracious. I hate Uzis. They're like the McDonald's of the gun world.
Yeah. The one thing about this era, too, just with firearms that is annoying, is that everybody, and this was just, I mean, heroes and villains, all of them, it's like they're just shaking their guns all the time. You know what I mean? It's like their guns just are like on vibrators or something. It's just constantly, just nobody holds this. Danny Glover's, it's weird. He has a moment coming up here that is like the one good moment where when he spins around, he goes down on a knee and like actually braces in like a firing position that you could actually hit something with.
He's actually trained in firearms.
Yeah.
But yeah, like.
But like when he's moving around and he's clearing rooms, there's still this just very waving it around. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, he's a weird oscillation between good firearms handling and atrocious firearm handling. And part of it's just the era, and I get it. Everybody did it. I mean, there's movies that I adore from this era that you like don't pay attention to how they use their guns.
Yeah, I mean, I love Predator and all those guys, including the freaking Navy SEAL They knew how to fire guns, but they were performers first.
Yeah. Well, and I don't
So
think the Navy
they
SEALs
were
trained
all
on
hip firing,
minigun.
you know? I love how he's afraid of
Right there.
how
Like
he's
he
afraid of
actually
heights.
sights. Like he's actually sighting his pistol, which I love. So it's like weirdly great weapons handling all of a sudden.
This is also one of the few times when I don't hate the inclusion of the Desert Eagle because it looks natural in his hands. You know, he's big enough and he's bulky enough that I could imagine him having a Desert Eagle and being able to control the recoil.
Yeah. I am actually glad that it's not a 50 cal, although in some ways maybe that'd be good for the Predator. But it's
Yeah.
no, I don't want to jump ahead too far. There are some weapon interaction inaccuracies, like not inaccuracies, inconsistencies with the Predator taking firearm damage in this movie that annoy me greatly.
Yeah.
But the SWAT, even the SWAT guys here, like the guy's just fully like finger on the trigger, just with his FAL, just like chilling over there. Actually, no, it's not an FAL.
Yeah.
It's a G43, I want to say, which is like a civilian American version of the FAL.
There's something like that.
Yeah. This room though is funny. Just firearms database. Whenever it has a room like this, they're like, all right, we're gonna do our best here and just try to list, all this stuff in the background. And you have everything from, the Barrett 50 cal to like they have old, World War II carbines in the background. And
Yeah.
it's just such a variety. The M60 sitting there. I got a couple, AR-15 wannabes. It looks like there's like actually an M1 back there. Just
Yeah.
yeah.
No, there's all kinds of stuff. They like just took
Javelin back there.
all these weapon props and just
not a javelin, a law.
piled them around.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a law. There's a whole bunch of like the HK91s.
Yeah.
Those which I think is what you're mistaking for the FAL.
Well, because there's two versions. Yeah, there's the HKs that get chopped down and look like MP5s, and there's the other one that looks like an FAL. I mean, they're both in here, and they both are made by HK. But
the HK91.
Yeah.
Those are
Okay.
the ones that look like FALs.
Okay, so this is 93 that gets chopped down to look like an MP5.
Yeah, the 93 and the G3 I think is the other
Okay.
one you might be thinking of.
Yeah, because those, you chop the barrels down and they look like MP5s, and they have to
Yeah.
be modified to be fired fully auto. I mean, they were everywhere in this era. Obviously, for 10 years, it's all everybody fired. Now this though too, this character, I like the fact that anybody watching this, spoilers, I guess, he's the first one to go, but they give him he has, outside of Danny Glover, probably the most like character development of just, you can tell that they're friends, that they've known each other for a long time. He's shown to be a good observer. He's looking at things. He's immediately going like, all right, like let's understand this, and this is what the problem here be. He spots the spirit ship later, and when the Jamaicans ambush the Colombian dude, and like they do a lot with him, and then he's the first cop to to get taken out by the Predator, and I like that. I like that they he's not just a throwaway, and he's the one who you said he was a big deal in Panama, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So much so that the director was getting death threats, and also they had him like being mobbed by fans on set, and the director would be like, "Get back to work," and they'd get really mad at him and start cussing him out.
That's funny. So here we got Robert Davi.
Yep.
Yeah, man.
I genuinely
what a
didn't
face.
recognize him last time I saw this movie as Kolya from Stargate.
I mean, well, you got what, 20 years?
Yeah, just about.
Yeah.
No, 10. Like,
Well, this was
13, yeah, you're right,
1990.
13.
Yeah, Atlantis was 2000.
That was the first season of Stargate Atlantis. That
So-
would have been 2004.
Okay, man, not that long then.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he was one of these guys. One of those. I almost think of them as like character actors in action movies because they're just in the background and they're just they usually have distinct faces and they're good at they have good voices. I mean, he does have a good voice, and
Yeah.
he's just there to be kind of they're like 80s and 90s authority figures. They play police chiefs and FBI agents and the people who kind of get in your way, your bureaucratic antagonists.
Right.
As much as I absolutely love Michael Ironside, he did a few of those for sure. There was also
Yeah.
who's the guy who played Strickland in Back to the Future, and he was also
Oh,
in
yeah,
Top
yeah,
Gun.
yeah.
And he was just like just 80s authority figure, just because he was just
80s
good at
authority
yelling.
figure,
Yeah, I think that was the honest trailer. I think they did their 80s authority figure is what they called him in like their ending credits or whatever.
That tracks.
Yeah. Anyways,
Here we have the introduction of Gary Busey.
yep. Man.
God,
Okay,
Gary
so-
Busey is made fun of so much by Seth MacFarlane. It's hilarious.
Yeah. Well, is it prior to this or right after this? He was in a really bad car accident, right? That kind of messed him up.
This is his first acting gig after coming back from an accident. He had taken over a year off from doing any type of acting to recover. Dude was like injured that led to brain damage.
Mm.
And so his persona of everybody going, "Oh, crazy Gary Busey," a lot of that came from the fact that he knocked his head so hard that he couldn't think right afterward.
Yeah, because you go back and you watch Lethal Weapon 1, his performance as Mr. Joshua is way more restrained than what he was doing later. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love, by the way, the opening shot of this police precinct. That one you don't even realize it is for a while because the engraved lettering is so covered in graffiti. You have to like, oh, that it says like LAPD, and then there's like a cop minivan in the front of it. It's like this old like Chevy, just total POS minivan from like the 80s. It just
But they had those.
Pulls away, and it's just like, oh, poor guy who's like, here's your city ride. But man, the pan through this police station. You were talking about just a movie just an environment that makes you feel like just icky, just looking at it. That to me is like you could smell this precinct, right? Just the bodies and the sweat and just the noise. Can you imagine trying to get work done? Oh, just awful. Okay, we just had the introduction though of just the late great Bill Paxton. I mean, just one of those guys that I have never seen him give a performance that I didn't enjoy.
Yeah. Dude sitting here and he's the actor. I think that there's one other actor now because of Alien versus Predator, who has been killed by an alien, a predator, and a RoboCop.
Terminator. Oh yeah.
Oh, sorry, Terminator, Alien, Predator, and Terminator.
And Terminator, yeah.
It's
the guy who played Bishop.
Yes, Lance Hendrickson.
There you go. Yeah, that's an exclusive club, just the two of them, and they're both great actors. But Bill Paxton is just, and he's good in this movie. I love that again. His squad, that they have little arcs. I mean, nothing like insanely deep, but like even Bill Paxton. I mean, you think he's just going to be this just kind of arrogant dude who is all talk, and he actually turns out to be very good at his job, and he goes out like a hero. Although there's things about that sequence I want to talk about when we get to the subway sequence because it's both impressive and I kind of hate it.
Are you epileptic by any chance?
I'm not. Although, if you ever want to find out if you are, just go YouTube that. Right? My mom definitely could not watch that sequence.
I really liked that because I feel like Bill Paxton's characters almost always seem like they're incompetent bozos, but tend to be actually pretty good at their job.
Yeah. Well, I think one of his strengths is he's so good at being just kind of the loudmouth, just village idiot in some ways, but he's also such a likable guy. I think that writers and directors just can't help but like, no, you need to like this guy with the end. We need to give him a redemption because both in Aliens and this, he has that. What's funny is the one movie where he doesn't get anything is is Terminator because he's barely in that movie. He just gets taken out.
Yeah, he's just a thug.
Yeah, he's just a thug.
But look at the shape this guy's in.
Yeah.
He's in his 40s.
He's
he did over an hour and a half to 2 hours of weightlifting and a 4-mile run every day for like 4 months.
I want to look like that. I'm in my 40s and I don't look like that. I would love to. It's just
you have the power.
Yeah, we're gonna move on. I love that the fan, how hot it is, and the fan up on top of the file cabinets is not turning. It's just sitting there.
Yeah,
turn the fan on, dude. But
one of the things I really hate about a lot of these movies that show the oppressive heat is they'll almost always have a fan that's not going fast enough.
Oh yeah, it's just barely turning. But I love the pit stains in his sport coat. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. They really wanted a noir detective feel to this thing, so they had it to where, oh, it's so hot that everybody's wearing hats now. It's now way more fashionable to wear hats just because it's so hot out.
Yeah.
I like that detail.
Oh. Just, oh, goodness.
It's a good scene. For those of you who are not watching, they have the female lead here grabbing Bill Paxton's overly flirty character by the literal testicles in order to show him that he is barking up the wrong tree. Utterly gratuitous and terrible in many ways, but really funny.
Oh yeah, I mean, what to kind of set the just set the table, so to speak. Of this is how the organization is set up. Man, Bill Paxton is he's skinny back then too. But this scene too,
what does it mean to be on the rag? What is that? He said that, is she on the rag?
Oh yeah. Is she on her period?
Yeah.
That was a very definitely a derogatory way of just saying like, oh, you must be that time of the month.
I thought it was like a drug thing.
Oh no, you've really never heard that phrase before? Huh?
Not that I recall.
No. Ask Chris. I'm sure
I'm
she
just
can
uneducated,
explain.
I guess. Oh
This
God,
scene-
no!
No?
She gets so mad at me.
You're not going to use that one? See how that goes?
Yeah.
You can tell me about
I'll be
it.
sure to use
You can
that
tell
one.
me about it in person because you'll be on my couch all the way up in Oregon.
For those of you who don't know, every single time I've gone through a breakup, I've ended up staying at Brian's house.
We just
Only
we
twice,
just talked through this scene, and I mean, I'm glad we did because that was funny. But it was like a tonal shift there of like this really, like this. It quieted down, and this great little moment of, Danny Glover's character, telling this, kind of meeting, Bill Paxton, and have this serious quieting down the way it was staged, and the
followed immediately by an incredibly gratuitous and very loud sex scene that's now followed by extreme violence.
Yes. Talk about tonally having a little fun here.
Yeah.
But
definitely.
it just but it was a great scene. The way they shot, Danny Glover back there, where he was leaning back and he really was serious and somber. And the lighting was super noir. Yeah. And then, here we go with just this voodoo ritual with just
we have blood, butts, boobs, and Satanism all in the same shot.
It's everything a growing boy needs.
Okay, well, it's technically... So it's hard to say exactly what it is in terms of like the religious thing. They call them the voodoo Jamaicans or Jamaican voodoo, which that's not actually a thing, which I think that they were doing specifically because it's not actually a thing. But it's just like voodoo is much more like Haitian, kind of New Orleans Creole type of thing. Jamaicans don't have a voodoo tradition. They have some other similar religions, but not like this. This is all kind of out of the ass.
So what do you think about accusations of basically racism in this film?
Yeah. I've never taken it that way.
Yeah. I've heard a few people basically talk about, and you mentioned it last week, some people, the way the Predators kind of portrayed in this, but also just the that's rough.
Yeah, that ain't good.
But just the portrayal of the Jamaicans and just being very cliched and I part of it's just cliches exist in Hollywood in general.
Yeah.
And I don't by any means think that it's a good thing, but also it's just you got to basically toss out a decade or two of Hollywood if you're going to get really worked up about that.
Yeah.
So
this is one of the ones where the movie is silly enough that it doesn't bother me. If they were trying to make this a legit crime drama thriller thing, then it's that's not gonna fly, gentlemen.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's just it's like a comic book almost. It's a sci-fi action movie, and they're not portraying a specific people group because they're portraying a gang that shouldn't exist.
Yeah. Every now and then, when the Predator, I mean, I know that they're doing it partially for our benefit, but the Predator, there's times where it's like, how do they not see him? Because the effect is a little bit wonky. And other times here where it's like, obviously he wants to be seen. He's the last guy. But it's that's a sequence where I feel like the cloaking effect, it's too close. It takes me out of it a tiny bit. It's also just the pacing of that scene, the editing of the scene. I feel like that's a way less effective ambush or like just slaughter scene. I don't know. What do you think?
I like it because of its legacy. As it was specifically cited, this movie and how it was done was specifically cited as one of my favorite video game mechanics of all time, in the form of the Batman Arkham video games, and how they designed the Predator ambush sequences that are a staple of that series.
Okay.
They even call it Predator mode.
Oh yeah.
And that's not an accident, and it all comes from this movie. That scene and the warehouse scene later. There's
butcher
shop, whatever it's called.
Yeah, I think that it's part of the problem is if it was, and this is where I will criticize maybe just the limitations they had for the effect. It also is, it's a little bit stuttery, like it's not smooth. It doesn't.
The editing is not great.
Yeah, it doesn't. There should be a fluidity to the Predator just kind of moving from, and it was like, show this guy firing, and then cut to the Predator using this weapon, and then cut to this guy firing his gun, and then cut to the Predator using this weapon, and it was just it's a little bit blocky and clunky in its editing, and I like the concept, but I feel like and part of it's the air, the time it was made, but I feel like if they had been able to just made a little more fluid, made a little more, a little bit, just a tiny bit faster, it would have helped it a lot.
Agreed.
Get that letterbox just perfectly there.
Yeah, right. Just gotta make sure that you don't see that one. I don't know. I always recognized that I wasn't a big fan of how the editing was done, but I didn't actually mind it at all because I liked the scene. One of the specifics of this movie is that they wanted to show off the Predator technology and weapons more, and they were just looking for chances to do it, and that was one of them.
Oh yeah, I'm all for that. Although the trajectory of his spear tip thing here, like the one guy's kind of looking, he's taking measurements and stuff. The Predator would have to be lying on the ground, shooting up for that thing to have gone up into that. When they show how high it is up in the like the AC thing.
Somehow.
It showed it just going straight through the guy's head, like it was flying perfectly horizontal in that previous scene, but it's all right. Oh man, I had that Maglite as a kid. Everybody wanted the big. Oh,
my dad did too.
Yeah, the big 6D cell Maglite. I think it was a club.
Yep. Used to take that out to go take the trash out, because we'd have like mountain lions and things like that, and they knew that we were safe, but at the same time they'd also kind of try and pick on me. And just be like, oh, it's okay, just use this to hit the bears.
Oh goodness.
Yeah.
So okay, man, these big suitcase lights are interesting.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, so interesting too with Gary Busey in here. He's definitely an antagonist, but I do like where they end up taking them. Like, I could. This is going to be weird to say because Danny Glover's the hero of this film. I get Gary Busey's position here. You wouldn't just tell a cop, some local detective that has a history of being a hothead, oh, so by the way, he's like, get out of here. You don't understand. I'm tracking an alien hunter who is crazy advanced. I work for a very top secret level of the government. There's a certain level of, empathizing with his position, and again, he's playing it up as kind of an a-hole, but that's what he's supposed to do. But yeah, the last thing you would want in his position, anybody with his job, would never want some local detective who has a history of disobeying orders anywhere near their scenes, right?
Yeah. Did you read about how his character came to be and the whole intent of his character in general?
I must have missed that. I read a bunch of stuff, watched a bunch of stuff. But I don't remember anything specifically about the creation of his character, other than just being an antagonist.
He wasn't supposed to be an antagonist. He was supposed to join the character here. He was supposed to be Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, okay. I did not.
Dutch was supposed to be in this movie as a member of the otherworldly life forms, whatever it is, the OWLF or whatever they called it here. He was supposed to be leading the squad hunting this thing, and he didn't trust the what's his face's character, Danny Glover's character, until later in the movie, and they have to work together to take the thing down. And he was going to join. Danny Glover was then going to join the OWLF at the end and retire from the force, and it was kind of setting up further sequels of like buddy cop versus Predator.
Okay. I mean, I do remember reading that about Arnold. I didn't realize that it was the same character as what Gary Busey kind of took over. So
obviously, they very much changed the character after Gary Busey took over.
Yeah. Interesting. This is a good way, by the way, to show just naturally in a scene that Bill Paxton, his character, is good at his job, but also like his, he is still the same guy you've been seeing, as far as, everything's his specialty, right? And then, when he sees the girl and goes over and he's very suave and like it's a good way to show and not tell, where you just like, he's competent, but he's still him. It's not like he's putting on a show. he's
still Turt.
Yes. Oh man. Again, I've never understood the appeal of like these really packed clubs. It's just, it's just the anti everything I'd want to do with my time. But I'm also me, so.
I mean, have you ever been in one?
Only once, and it was just awful.
Yeah, I had a buddy who dragged me to a couple of them, especially after my divorce, and they were not. There was one of them that was just absolutely horrible, but there were some of them where there's just kind of an energy to them that sucks you in. Call it pheromones or whatever, but they can be kind of fun if you have a drink or two. But the more you go to them, the more kind of just it gets. It's like a very short-lived thing, and I really don't like clubs.
Yeah.
You go to a party bar or something like that, it can be fun to just drink and people watch and stuff like that. But when you're at a certain age, it's a little fun, but not enough.
So, here obviously we have, Danny Glover's character told him like, don't go without me. Although I don't think it would have made a difference if Danny Glover had been there. But yeah, we already have our first. I do appreciate the pacing of kind of picking them off, because we alluded to this a little bit when we introed this. But this is take the basic premise of the first film and adapt it to cops in the city. And you obviously there's a lot of differences, but you do have the idea of like, how would you kind of slowly take out the team, whittle it down to just kind of last man standing. They actually do the interesting lore building of the Predator with and I feel bad. I can't remember her character's name, and I'm sorry. No disrespect intended, but when she's pregnant, the Predator doesn't spares her. Because, is that her name? Fiona?
Leona.
Okay, Leona.
Yeah, the pregnancy thing, that's what I was thinking about watching the last one. My brain got crosswired. He wasn't taking out the Anna because
Anna just
she was unarmed.
Yeah, just unarmed. But it's that, it separates them in a way that, is both... I like that. I like the overall structure I like. And the idea that the Predator is seeing, okay, we got the he sees three groups, right? He sees, all right, we got the Colombians, we've got the Jamaicans, and he views the police squad that's kind of going after them also as formidable. And there's it's a very different vibe, obviously, than Special Ops in the jungle, but there's a structure there that still fits within kind of the Predator psychology that I like.
Yeah. No, very much so. A lot of people have given the general plot some flack over, like, oh, what's it doing? Why is it doing this? Why is this happening? It can. All you need to do is know that this thing wants to take on the biggest and baddest, and that's its entire motivation. And suddenly half the stuff that people complain about makes sense.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense too that you kind of whittle down until you kind of
Mhm.
get to that, that top dog, and the idea that if you're hunting him, you kind of isolate him, you kind of take out his support system, and then you're left with just kind of that one-on-one. And there's something
Yeah.
cool about that. There's also the coming up where he talks to, I forget the character's name, the Jamaican kind of head guy in the alley.
King Willie.
Kingwood. that was interesting. I think that could have been an interesting sequence. I wonder if they were just trying to do kind of the Billy thing again, just having it off screen. Man,
Yeah.
I
love this.
Yeah, it was good. I do feel like bad for this. Like this guy, unfortunately, he has kind of the worst death in a way because he gets the least amount of like ability to, like when Bill Paxton goes, he goes down, shooting, and this guy just kind of gets ambushed and slaughtered, and it's just I feel bad because again they've done the work. You do know enough about this guy to know like this is a good guy. He's a loyal friend. He's a smart investigator, and so in a very short amount of time, the film has given you at least something to feel bad for this guy going out.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Like they have the talking computer here.
Oh,
'cause
yeah.
It's the future. And also some really weird stats. He's listed as being 40% more aggressive than the average cop on his little dossier.
He's a video game character.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh goodness.
Oh man, this so funny enough, this movie is largely inspired by a comic book, a Predator comic book that was written in between the first Predator and this, called Predator Urban Jungle, which is about a New York City detective
This one with Dutch's
who was
brother, right?
actually supposed to be Dutch Schaefer's brother, Arnold
Yeah.
Schwarzenegger's character from the first one, his brother, which was adapted into a video game that I wanted to play so bad as a kid, but I didn't have the ability to. And apparently it sucks. And that makes me so sad. But I really want a Predator game that's like that. I want Arkham City, the Predator game.
That would be cool. Yeah, you could
Mm.
making it balanced between not being overpowered and a story would be really interesting, especially if you go with like the Predators, where there's other Predators you're also competing with. Could make it interesting.
Yeah, I think what would be fun is like you could create a whole story on it because there's Predator lore are surrounding characters called Bad Bloods, which are like rogue predators, and you could make it all about that. And you could actually have it so that you start as overpowered, and you because you could just be the Predator and you're killing things super easily, and then it gets harder and harder and harder as people are adapting to your tactics, and you're facing other evil or other rival aliens and things like that. One thing we didn't discuss last week, actually, is the name of the Predators. Did you know that they have a proper name?
I did not.
They're called Yautja. That's their species name.
Okay, I thought you meant like the individual's name. Sorry, I have heard that. I thought you meant like
the individuals have titles. This one is referred to as the City Hunter.
All right, I thought it was like like Fred and Al, just
Yeah.
Okay, the guy that's like the host here of like the fictional hardcore show, didn't he he got into like crazy trouble later? Like he had like a Jerry Simpson-esque like show,
Yes,
and like got
he was
accused of some
actually
stuff.
he was kind of had like the birth of the trash talk show. That led to things like Jerry Springer.
Okay.
And he eventually was just like, I got attacked in an airport bathroom by skinheads,
That's right.
and they did X, Y, and Z
it
to
was
me.
all a
And
stunt.
it was all made up. It was all made up.
Man. Yeah, you don't paint a swastika on yourself and then accuse some stranger of doing it for attention. That wasn't cool back then. Definitely not cool now. Yeah. But he was like a minor celebrity already in this movie, right?
Yeah, he's supposed to be a just a talk show host. And
Yeah, but I mean, like in real life, he had kind of like had like minor celebrity status. But
yes,
man, okay, did you notice
his
right
talk
there?
show was currently on.
3 identical red Mustangs just were all driving by in the background.
Yeah, I had that pointed out in one of the retrospectives, and I'm like, that is kind of funny.
Yeah, it's just one of those odd, like, all right. The other thing, a part of it's the era, part of it's whatever. Everybody's jackets are way too big. Like, even for the era, it's like ridiculous.
That's very 90s.
Oh man, I think it's I was alive in the 90s. Like I was a teenager in the 90s, and I do not remember sport coats that are 2 sizes too big being common. Maybe I lived in the wrong part of the country. But
really?
Yeah, I remember.
I remember just there was a period
where
it seemed like every movie I was watching, because I was going back and watching movies from the 90s and stuff like that when I was a little bit older, and all the clothes are just too big for everybody.
But that's the thing is, I remember it in music videos. I remember it in movies. I have like no memories of it in real life.
Oh, okay, yeah, that I'm not positive of.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, it might have been I lived in a small rural town in Northern California. Maybe that was my problem, but I just don't remember it in real life. But the other thing I want to talk about, Gary Busey's plan, like the intelligence they've gathered, the work they're doing, is not bad. Like this is actually like a good plan. Like I like when you make your he's not a villain. When you make an antagonist not an idiot, when you make his plan not succeed because he just was actually stupid, versus no, he didn't anticipate something, that there's information he didn't have. Like I like it when you keep competency high in people who should be competent. Here's another though of just the kind of advanced tech, again talking computer, and the fact that she can just toss this thing in this machine. She's
instantaneous mass spectrometer.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that even today is like very difficult to do. You need there's not a lot of these around.
Mass spectrometers are getting way better.
Yes, but the idea that she just it's they're still not as fast, and they're much bigger and rare, and you would need to like scrape this. You wouldn't just set the whole thing on a tray.
Yeah, they got some tricorders.
And of course, too, everything's just unknown. Like the whole thing is out of I think it would have been a little more plausible if there was just 1 or 2 things in it that were not, but like nothing. Because there are base elements of like metals in the universe that we're pretty confident are, common. But there'd probably be an alloy, so it'd be like a mixture of like iron along with something else. I love the whole like
xenon.
Yeah, I love it where he just immediately like he has his gun out right away and just pulls it up there. Again, it's just like good reaction time, but also like showing Bill Paxton is like on it, how fast he is ready. Man, Danny Glover, the hats here coming out.
Yeah, it's a good hat because there's the fedoras and then there's trilbies, and trilbies suck. Fedoras are cool.
This though always bugged me here, where he has plenty of time to read the license plate number there and write it down, but he's like, "Oh, I didn't get it." He's like mad. It's like, no, you said half the thing twice. You would have. It was a weird, in contrast to earlier when he like was showing to be very competent, where he's like, "Oh no,
Well, do they specifically say that he didn't see the license plate?
Well, he says it out loud twice. He says like 3 numbers twice, and then he's like and throws his notepad. Like he just
he can't see it. It's the lighting's different. We have God's lighting.
Maybe. This is where too, man. This car with the zebra and just the whole like all the smoke. There's a little bit of weed going on here. Man, this alley. Okay, so I'm sure you read about this when they were filming in L.A. Like it was rough filming in L.A. and a lot of the locals, allegedly did not like them, and they had to deal with finding bodies in the alley a few times and like just a lot of dead animals. Mm-hmm. It was just nasty where because they shot this like legit in L.A.
Some people got so mad at them for the excess noise and lighting late at night that they did stuff like one guy got shot at. The crew apparently had one or several jars of human pee thrown at them and at least 1 bag of human excrement.
Nice.
Yeah.
But this alley is like, I wonder, like, did you have to set dress this at all or just pick an alley in LA and just shoot it?
Right? This has one of the coolest special effects scenes,
It's
possibly
so
like
good.
in movies.
It is
It's
perfect.
flawless.
Yeah. Yeah, that was pointed out in two different ones I watched. And again, I want to watch Corridor Crew talk about this. Like,
Oh, Corridor Crew did talk about this one. I
Did they?
remember them reacting to this one.
Okay.
It's actually one of the reasons why I went back and like ended up watching like half this movie because I wanted to see the full scene. Probably like a year ago.
Okay. Because yeah, I mean the combination of getting the motion just right, doing the little, I mean, it's a comp job obviously with the little air jets under the water, and just getting the timing right with the visual effects. It is, especially for no digital work being done, it is perfect.
This is one of the last movies to use the old analog versions of special effects.
Yeah,
This
because I
guy's
mean,
voice though is so over the top.
it is. Well, you had Abyss and Terminator 2, really right around this time. Obviously bringing special effects.
Well, Terminator
and
2
CG.
used a whole lot of like CGI. There's not a lot of CGI in this.
No, what I'm saying is like
a lot of
those are
it's
the movies.
all optical.
Yeah, but they brought it. What I'm saying is like bringing CGI in. Those are the movies that kind of started it. And obviously, Jurassic Park, was a big deal in '93.
Yeah.
So we're right on the edge. We're right on the edge of the movies that we consider to be like the most important visual effects films for the transition into the digital age.
Yeah.
But
Very
I mean,
true.
this is where you have this heavy scene. You do all this work to establish this guy's a big deal. But you've never seen him before, and you walk away, and he gets killed off screen. So it's interesting. I guess I get the whole idea of kind of a mysterious figure. He gives him like a prophecy, and then too, like these guys, they just missed the Predator. At least the editing makes it look like if Danny Glover had hung around for like one more minute, he would have been there for this. It's
You see, I don't think that's it at all. I think that this is one of those things where the Predator is actively holding back.
Yeah.
He wants to see if Harrigan is his true competitor for this hunt. I think that there is this kind of hierarchy. It's almost like he's doing interviews for who's going to be the trophies, that he's going to hang on his wall. And I think that he's trying to determine if Harrigan is going to be that for the cops. Willie is obviously that for the
which is why he's
Colombians.
not trying to be stealthy here. He's just that's why he's not trying to hide, right? Because he knows this is kind of the top boss for this group of people.
Exactly, and that's why he was at the Colombian boss's place. It wasn't just to like kill the Jamaicans; it was to go to the Colombian boss's place. And but he's unsure if Harrigan is the guy, because Harrigan is obviously under others like Gary Busey and his chain of command. So he's like waiting to find out if Harrigan is actually the one.
Yeah.
That's how I always took it anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Little field stripper.
Yeah. I always thought it was interesting also too, the idea here that like, all right, so you're trying to keep the skull intact. So you'd want to make sure you got the, all the body stuff out.
Yeah.
From
and he's like, he's buffing it. I
Yeah.
love that.
Hangs it out.
There you go. The teeth
Actually-
look different though.
Yeah. You do actually, in that shot, you see just, if you know what you're looking for, the alien skull is off to the right there.
Well, it was going to be a bigger part of the movie. They were going to show it multiple times, but the executives at Fox thought that it was gratuitous, and they just wanted, if they were going to do it, they just needed to do a tiny bit of it.
Because there was no Alien versus Predator before this film, right? This film was the true inception of that idea? Or was
No.
it?
There were Alien versus Predator comic books by this time because they both had Dark Horse Comics contracts.
Interesting. Okay. I always thought that this movie was the origin of that idea.
I could be wrong, but I watched several videos that seemed to make the insinuation that it had already existed beforehand. Let me check on that.
Yeah.
Verify. First.
89. So it would have been
Yep, 89. So a year before this.
Yeah, this movie would have been. Yeah, they wouldn't have known that this was going to do it until
actually released the same year that it filmed.
So I wonder if they gave it. Yeah, I wonder if they gave it the go ahead because they knew they were going to do it in this. I don't know. It'd be interesting. Kind of what came first, I guess.
Yeah, the chicken or the egg, the alien or the predator. Slaughterhouse. That's the word that I was looking for.
It's okay. It's funny to me because it makes sense, but it's like, well, the predator's got to eat. You know, why not? You know, and I'm assuming he's a carnivore.
Omnivore, but yeah. Okay, so interesting piece of trivia. They decided it would be too distracting, but essentially, like, there was going to be a scene where he goes into this taxidermy shop and looks around and, like, asks about skinning techniques or something like that. And he was going to look around this room full of these taxidermied animals, and the predator was actually going to be there, standing among them, like hiding in plain sight. But they decided it was too ridiculous.
Yeah, that would have been. I think again, it's the when you have the predator, like they establish multiple times that you can see him, right? Like the kid right here, for instance, you can see him. You know, up on the rooftop, both Danny Glover and the Colombian dude could see him. So it's the thing where you would have to be looking for it, but he's not truly invisible, and because they've established that in multiple scenes, I think the idea that he's standing right next to you and you don't know it hurts the film a little bit.
I don't think that's. I get where you're coming from on that, but I don't necessarily agree. I think that it takes into account the human's ability to not notice things. Humans are stupid. And we don't notice things. Some people have the extra perception. Why did he leave a badge? Anybody could take that now and pretend to be a cop.
Yeah, that is messed up. But even like right here, they show that he's got an awareness. Like the idea of Danny Glover's character not knowing the predators right next to him, I think would have been ridiculous. Obviously here he sees the thing, so kind of tips him off. But I think this movie specifically multiple times shows people seeing the predator when I don't think he was intending to be seen. Like there are times where obviously the predator's not trying to hide, like when with the Jamaican guy there. But it would have I definitely would have called out that scene for being ridiculous if they had done it. I mean, I'm not saying objectively that's right or wrong, but I know that my reaction would have been like, really?
Well, I don't know. Because this is supposed to be like a young, inexperienced predator. So I don't know.
Well,
I think that
not ridiculous that the predator not ridiculous that the predator wouldn't have tried it, but ridiculous that Danny Glover wouldn't have noticed him.
I don't know. I think you're giving humans a lot of credit on weird things that they're able to notice.
I love the guy's water bottle holder. Just back there.
What do you mean?
There's like I find it funny. It's got like the big like regular water bottle, but like in like a net, like sling bag thing. It's funny because again, it's like the era. I think my mom might have had the same thing.
Yeah, I was gonna say I remember seeing those.
Oh gosh, this whole thing. I remember. I both like and kind of don't like this whole sequence because the idea that the predators stalking his team, and so he's following them. But also, you happen to have just this ancillary stuff going on with the gang here, and everybody's pulling out guns, and there's some interesting little tension here. Whoever this extra is, who kind of pulls the gun out and he like plays it cool, and then like I know how to use it.
Yeah,
I think he did a good job with his bit part, and these gang
the one
members,
gang member that just looks like if Robin Williams was a crackhead.
How many people have guns?
More of a crackhead than he was.
Oh,
the 90s the 90s baseball cap fold.
Yeah. Oh man, this shot though of the predator on the is pretty good. Now this is where I both like the chaotic nature of this fight, but it's also it goes a little bit too far. And again, there are times where, like, I think people would just be shooting randomly more. I think there would be, like, it's interesting that the civilians do, but like the gang members are just kind of like standing here, and it's really unclear how they get killed. Sometimes they just kind of randomly get, I don't know, just stabbed or murdered. But it's a strange mixture of like chaotic, but I wish I could track a little bit better the speed of what's going on, and they definitely go a little overboard with the strobing.
Yeah.
But this is where, okay, I'm going to start talking about this now because it goes, Bill Paxton is carrying, a modern firearm.
Yeah.
And he shoots, like, clearly seeing this predator. Like, he sees the outline. He's a cop. He's going for center mass. The predator's been shown that is all exposed. And we find out later that 12 gauge buckshot clearly hurts the predator. The ballistics of a 9mm round and a piece of buckshot are not drastically different. And he unloads 30 plus rounds center mass into this predator. And the predator acts like he's got shields up or something. And I wish that they had given Bill, I think it would have helped Bill Paxton's character. It would have been like a cooler moment if he had been able to wound it here, and that had somehow helped, Danny Glover's character have some victory later. I think you could have had a balance here where Bill Paxton still went down and it still became the next trophy, but that he was somehow able to get enough damage in here to be able to help, the conclusion. Because this is just... it flies in the face of what we see in like 20 minutes. And so anyways, but what do you think of all this?
It does. Well, I think this is also a problem with the lighting. It does have the predator like bobbing and weaving a little bit. I think they wanted it to be moving around and dodging because they have the scene where it was like crawling on the roof, right?
Yeah.
Or the ceiling. I think they wanted more of that. The intention is that it is dodging. It's confused. You see it bouncing off its shoulder armor a little bit there. But I think that it was a technology thing because it was so hard to do this shot technologically to get this done. They invented some new tech almost in order to actually get these shots with the camouflaged predator and the strobe effect and the chaotic camera.
Yeah.
So I think that it was just kind of a poor production decision to have him being able to do that so much.
The want some candy is like creepy. The kids. So but I also just think like if you're writing this, I think having the predator take a little bit of damage here, like maybe like just like a little blood trail or something, kind of like what they did in the first one, could have been interesting. But I do, Bill Paxton, I like that he kind of has a good heroic death in a way that he goes out not crying, he goes out swinging. He unloads everything he's got, throws the golf ball, which I do find funny, and then finds like the freaking, like half sword level knife. He picked up Billy's knife from the first game, from the first movie, and says, let's dance or something. He just, at least he goes out with his head up.
Yeah, no, I definitely think this scene could have been done better. I really just respect how cool. They got the shot to look while still being really difficult.
Yeah.
I remember this scene people got annoyed at on some of the retrospects. They're like, why are we just dwelling on her walking so much? There's no real tension here. We already know it's there.
Yeah. They definitely could have sped this
45
up.
seconds.
Yeah, you could have sped this up for sure. And actually, I think that if she was going inside the train, going back inside the train, it would have been a little bit better. It would have been lit, because this looks like a soundstage, and it's just, I feel like, and it doesn't help that, you're not, there's not tension here. Man, a lot of blood on her face though, which is nice. I do like that the golf ball on the ground there, just it tells the audience immediately what's going on.
Yep. No, it actually took me a long time to notice the golf ball. This dude is really adept at stringing people up, though.
And he's fast about it, too.
Yeah. That's what I meant to say, because he just does it so quickly.
Yeah.
But, also, the the inconsistency of the Predator dreadlocks while in camouflage mode.
Yeah,
just
well,
because it was so
they
hard
couldn't
to
do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you
Yeah,
think?
this reveal I think is really good. Like, because it's subtle there, sort of. Like you're, oh, what am I looking at? And then all of a sudden she's alive, and you're like, oh, this thing has a code.
Yeah.
And that's something that they write into a lot of the extra Predator media, is that the Predators adhere to a very strict code. And those who don't adhere to the code are called bad bloods, and they're hunted down and killed by other Predators.
Yeah. Well, and the idea that even though she was part of the team, she was armed, that it's that strict. So, I really fast, because we have a little bit of downtime here. I was curious what you because we're both big Star Trek fans. How much of the Hirogen in Voyager were direct, like just Star Trek Predators?
100% of them. I don't think the Hirogen would exist in the capacity that they appeared without Predator. I think that maybe they would have brought in some sort of like big game hunting aliens, sure. But for the creation of the Hirogen, they just straight up made Predators. Especially the episode titled Prey, that has Tony Todd as, guest stars Tony Todd as this Hirogen hunter that is hunting a member of Species 8472. And it escapes onto Voyager, and they have like the whole interior of the Hirogen ship, and it's got the trophy wall, just like the Predator ship in this.
Because obviously, with Klingons and stuff, a warrior race is not the warrior races have been in fiction way longer than, Predator was written. But yeah, the Hirogen were just, to me, they were just straight up like PG Star Trek Predators.
Yeah, they very much were. I have zero doubt that they were directly inspired by Predator.
Yeah.
And I think that they're a really cool race, and I wish that they'd bring them back.
Yeah, no, I don't mean it as a criticism. If anybody's wondering, I actually,
absolutely.
Yeah, I think the Hirogen, some of the better Voyager episodes I thought were Hirogen ones, but this whole sequence is like brutal, because you have this, just there's actually tension here, unlike the other. I think part of it's just, you're not actually sure as an audience, and then when they actually cut and you get to see this, is like, oh, again, we just saw this guy. We like this guy. Oh, man.
Yeah, like him yelling it. Like, because without that, like, that's, I don't know, it's a good scene. Because, like you said, we just saw this, but we didn't really care. But now it was like the dwelling on the body, him yelling the name and everything like that. It was quite good.
Yeah. And then from here on, we're basically, like, into the... Okay, I heard one commenter say that this is almost a 2-act movie instead of a 3.
Huh. I could see that.
That it's and this is basically, like from the subway on, it's kind of the second act of the film, and it just runs all the way to the end, because we really don't have, like, from here on. I mean, the subway attack happens, he shows up. He's following the Predator here, gets all the way to the slaughterhouse. I mean, we just, like, it doesn't really, like, this is all one big finale at this point.
You see, I was thinking about that a little bit myself, is that this doesn't really, it's almost like a very tight 4-act movie in my head, because when he gets to the slaughterhouse and actually gets, like, information from the OWLF, to me, that's almost like the beginning of like a little 4th act. It's because it seems like it could be almost cut up. Like, okay, when the second act begins with the the sex scene and the murder of that of the Colombian boss, and then the 3rd act begins after the death of King Willie. And then this is the end of the 3rd act, and the 4th act begins here with him getting kidnapped by the OWLF. Like, I don't know. It just, I can see how it's the 2-act thing, but it's a really strangely structured movie.
Yeah, it definitely is not. It's not a typical 3-act structure. For
Yeah.
sure. But yeah, I think you could break it down into smaller chunks or bigger ones. But because we do have a lull here for sure. But so this, I do think that the
This poor guy.
yeah,
Highlander, it's the quickening.
yeah, just apparently light. I mean, well, he's probably insulated, right? His suit, it's got some insulation. Not a big deal.
No idea.
The climbing up the wall. Anytime you try to show somebody scaling just a sheer concrete wall, is always interesting, especially to try to make it look, I don't know, realistic in a way where, is he just like got so much strength that he just kind of grabbing the columns and just through sheer grip strength doing it? Which I mean, they've demonstrated he's got crazy grip strength, obviously, but it's his feet are just kind of like flailing a little bit because he's a dude in a suit trying to climb up a sheer wall. It always to me
they can never quite get that right outside of Spider-Man.
It looks kind of silly. So when otherwise this Predator is very very intimidating. But even here, I like the kind of shift here in Gary Busey's character where I think it's one of those things where he's just like, all right, you're here. Part of it's I want to brag a little bit about, how, important the work I'm doing is, like, I'm, explain myself. I don't think that he's necessarily hoping to bring Danny Glover's character in at this point. I think it's just more of like, well, you're here. I might as well, we've kind of got you under our control. And so I don't know. How do you interpret this shift? Do you think that what do you think the intent here is?
I think that he realizes that Danny Glover's character is an asset, and he wants to follow this through. So I think that he's given him this brief because he thinks that he can be useful.
Well, and even right there,
stopping this thing.
When he calls him "you're the lion," like he's kind of recognizing there that like the Predator is interested in you.
Yeah. So I think that he does see him as valuable, if not like one of his men.
Yeah,
he can at least be used. He's an asset.
I do love the way he delivers the classic, lions and tigers and bear. Oh my!
Oh my!
Oh my! Oh gosh! This
that is a really good one.
I do. Okay, human beings typically don't look up. Like that's actually pretty well documented. It's been like studied that we don't. You think with the amount of tracking though, like I actually most of the sequence I like a lot, but I don't like they've cased this place. They've been in this place. They have it set up. It's odd to me that nobody on this team like looks past like one railing up. There's a little bit of a like he's coming in from the roof. It's a tiny bit of like for the most part I think Gary Busey's plan is like good and these guys don't act like idiots. But there is just that little bit of convenience that he's coming from the roof and you don't look up higher because the Predator's not even cloaked half the time in this sequence. There's it's not egregious, but I feel like it's just a little bit annoying if that makes sense.
No, very much so. I agree. I think it's just supposed to be that the Predator is just that good.
Yeah, and again, though, that's where I do think if they had been able to, and that's one thing that, like, when we get to Predators. And I'm a fan of that film. I know that movie doesn't, some people like it, some people don't. That's fine. I like how much more fluid they're able to make the Predators look in modern day with modern technology. Because in the first movie, the pacing is there where there's not a sequence where they wanted the Predator to do something they couldn't quite pull off and it looked janky. And this movie, I think it's got ambition where it wants to have these sequences where the Predator's just going in and just wrecking. And it just the technology they weren't quite there with the editing level, with the how fast, the actor could move in the suit. There was just, their reach wasn't quite. Their reach exceeded their grasp just a little bit. And again, total respect. The people who made this, visionary people who were really pushing the boundaries and did some amazing things. I'm not trying to rag on them or say that they're whatever, but there's just this movie pushes those a little bit for me. Where you can tell that what they wanted, what they were able to do, weren't quite on par with each other.
Yeah, I understand. That's actually one of the things that I do kind of respect about the unfortunately awful The Predator. Is that they tried to do some things with the predators that were a little bit different, that still fit in the world, because one of their big problems was that they kept having them do stuff that didn't fit in the world. It didn't make sense. But they got a guy in the predator suit who was not only like 6'8", but he was also a parkour guy. And so they were able to have the predator move in some really like inhuman ways, because this guy could move in some really inhuman ways. I liked that a lot.
Yeah. Because is it Peter David Hall? Is that the guy who's the first movie in this movie? Am I getting that right?
Kevin Peter Hall.
Kevin Peter. And he's phenomenal. And he's famous for a reason. But it was just he had like background like mime and that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, he studied with mimes.
Yeah.
In order to make the character communicate more non-verbally.
Yeah.
And
so
he did some extra training on this one with African dancers, because the thing about this movie is that they were really pushing for this predator to feel different from the first one. They wanted this predator to represent a younger, less experienced predator who's a little bit more like quantity over quality, a little bit more rash, a little bit stupider, but that's also why he's being watched over by elders of his tribe. And so his armor's incredibly different. He's just a completely different individual, and they really wanted to hammer that home.
Yeah. But like so here, I feel like they would have, if they were, this was a whole trap, they would have known the route you take from the roof down into this slaughterhouse. Like, I mean, that would have been like 101, right?
Yeah, that'd be my thought. I would have had him like looking everywhere it could possibly hide.
Yeah. But this is a Batman level for sure. I've done this in Arkham many times. Oh goodness.
Oh yeah. I genuinely believe, like, I couldn't get any confirmation on it, but I genuinely believe that this is why that's referred to as Predator mode and Predator sections in the Arkham games.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, like everything about like the heat vision, because they would have known about the heat vision from Dutch.
Yeah. Well, they obviously know about it because their whole plan is about, you know, having the suits on that mask their body heat. So, I mean, yeah, it's been stated very clearly that they understand his. And yeah, you think. Oh, and even right here, the look on Adam Baldwin looks like a scared 12-year-old there for a second. If you are a tactical
unit, like 12 years old here,
right here,
get him out of there.
But if you were in a tactical unit and somebody who you know is in the trailer looking at the screens tells you that, somebody on that team be like, oh, okay, let's you know, like you would have. Again, it's a weird mixture of a team that's shown to be very prepared and have really thought this through, but then like no adaptation in the moment.
I think that it was just supposed to. It's trying to be Aliens.
Yeah, I mean, I know I'm ragging on this a little bit. I'm sorry, but
yeah, it's like the scene where the lieutenant can't do it right, and is Ripley takes over and takes the. Yeah, it's just kind of a retread of that.
Yeah, I do appreciate the gear up. The fact that they let Danny Glover like not just run in with his pistol. It does help the like right here. Oh my gosh, look up, dudes.
Yeah,
but you get him to gear up a little bit, and they actually give Gary Busey like some, you know, like he kind of gets a heroic death in a little way. I mean, he goes out, you know, in a really awful way, but
yeah. But not like a chump.
No, not like a chump. Like he comes out like trying. Like he's like, all right, I'm. You know, he never gives up. He never, you know, just like gives up. I said that twice. Woo.
But yeah,
some of these like these. Yeah. This is edited better than the Jamaican one for me because it is the cuts are a little bit better. You're going back to the, you know, to him kind of gearing up. You have, you know, it's more of a. I'm in the shadows and kind of on the edges. You know, they're just it's showing I think it's cut into his vision a little bit. I like the whole thing better than the penthouse scene.
It definitely got a larger budget.
Yes. Also, too, it's established, that the cloak does not like water like this.
It's not like water.
Wouldn't his head like pop? Well, no, he doesn't actually change his vision back. That's right. So yeah, it's weird. For some reason, the angle they're shooting Adam Baldwin, he looks extra young at the angle where they're shooting like up at him from like lower.
I mean, isn't he only like 20 when this was filmed?
He is pretty funny, but it's just depending on the angle of his face, he just ages quite a bit. That is quite the staff. But yeah, this whole sequence is great. I do love the lighting. I like the blue, just the Predator walking around. He just looks menacing here. Just this is where like pacing wise. Okay, we do have the obnoxious there. I think he charged that M16 like 3 times, like racked it.
Did he?
Oh yeah. At least twice. I believe maybe 3 times, but it was 100% at least twice.
Yeah,
but I mean,
that's an editing problem,
reloading multiple times or like racking your slide when you've already been shown to have loaded it. That's a common trope. I mean, it's this movie's not even remotely the most guilty.
Here's my question: what exploded?
Well, he fired his 203 grenade launcher at the door.
Oh, it was the 203. Okay, I always wondered that. I didn't even put it together that he had an M203 attached to the.
Yep. Of course, like is very common in this era. The 203 was, it's not an actual 203. It's just mocked up to be. It's like a flare launcher they use in these movies that looks like a 203. But actual rounds fired from a 203 have a safety on them where they will not detonate until they've traveled a certain distance for the safety of the firer. And in many films, this and the original Predator are just one of probably dozens of examples where they would fire a grenade way closer than it ever would have, actually gone off.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It's a cinematic thing, and again, everybody was doing it, so it kind of makes it not quite as bad. Interesting there, though, that they did show damage that his plasma caster got damaged there, which I appreciate.
Yeah.
It's a way to take that out, and showing that again, Danny Glover's not shooting. He's not demonstrating good technique shooting his AR, but. Man, his pants are baggy. But at least he shows that he's doing some damage here. This from here on. I like and dislike this whole final sequence because I like that it's a prolonged fight where there is multiple layers of right here. The fact that he actually stopped and put on plates saved his life, but. And we kind of get layers to this fight where he damages the Predator damages him. This kind of the cat and mouse thing, but ultimately, I love the Arnold fight so much better at the end because Danny Glover doesn't. This is not entirely accurate, but as a general idea, he just kind of outfights the Predator by just surprising him and shooting him and getting lucky a few times, versus Arnold really having to use his wits and really going down on the idea that you cannot just confront this dude and take him on. You have to be smarter. You have to outthink him. You have to come up with a plan. And even then, he barely pulls it off. And Danny Glover, who's very much not your typical action star, takes him out in a way that you would almost expect an Arnold character to do it, where it's just kind of from here on, Danny Glover kind of has the upper hand for most of the fight. And I would have appreciated a little more problem solving, if that makes sense. I don't hate it, but I
get what you mean. I heard that complaint from a couple people, but I didn't really feel that way myself. I thought that they'd put a lot of work into setting up that this is an environment that the Predator is weak and uncomfortable in. He can't see clearly. He was fighting a whole bunch of guys. His cloak was down. His caster's damaged.
Yeah.
He was sprayed with a whole bunch of that liquid nitrogen. And then this guy shows up armed to the teeth and gets in some good shots. So I thought it had done a really good job. This is definitely I
don't mind this.
The lesser opinion.
Yeah. Well, it was funny.
I thought that they did a really good job of leveling the playing field before it gets to a hand-to-hand,
Yeah, that is true. It's interesting to me that they take the time to show the Predator going through all this work to kind of patch himself up a little bit to then kind of almost immediately go down again. Like they have that whole sequence coming up, and it's almost played for comedy, like in the old woman's bathroom and that whole thing. But yeah, it's like I said, by no means is it like, oh, it's horrible and I hate it. It's just because you're right. They have taken the time to I love his nostrils. They have taken the time to show how he could have been able to do this.
Ugly fucker.
Oh gosh.
They went extra hard on just the sheer vagina mouth.
Oh yeah. Well, because you have not just the mandibles, but like down inside of it, you have the full on. Oh yeah.
And it's like it that detail wasn't present in the original. Like there was the comparison to be made, absolutely, but it goes a little extra on this one.
Now his mask is off. Wouldn't his vision be more red over like total in total based on the first movie? Because in the first movie, when he takes his mask off, his natural vision that's not helped by his helmet is like almost washed out. Is that
I do genuinely
inconsistency?
believe that's an error.
Okay, because they're showing basically his vision like he gets through his helmet or his visor.
One of the things that I read, there was a comic book I read. I think it was the Predator versus Batman 2, where they do establish that like they see in thermals more than visible spectrum, but the thermals are amplified by the helmet, and I think it's literally because of this scene that they do that.
Okay. Oh man, that's
poor Gary Busey.
It's a rough way to go. Although again, the like they slowed it down a tiny bit, and like so if you actually watch it, it's a little bit like when he gets cut, like the knees folding, and it's like it's a little bit stuttery from just the way they had to shoot it. So it's like horrific and also a tiny bit funny. If that's a little morbid to me, I guess.
Especially with the way that the blood falls and everything like that.
Yeah. Well, and the timing of the scream is it seems a tiny off for me. I mean, it might, maybe it's not, but it's just it's like it's always been something where I feel genuinely bad for Gary Busey, and I'm also kind of chuckling a tiny bit, and it's a weird combination.
No, I get you. I've never had a problem with it. Never really noticed it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's
to me, it was always just like brutal death. Way to go.
Now, a good commercial rooftop, though, there's many movies that have done shootouts and stalking scenes on these, but it does work because you're kind of just in a weird environment where we recognize everything, but it's inherently, it's like you're up in the air. There's noise, everything's moving. It's a good chaotic kind of cat and mouse environment that whenever it's done well, I like it as a choice for a game of cat and mouse.
Agree. Well, it provides a whole bunch of things. One, there's familiarity, but people are rarely on roofs, so it's also alien.
Yes.
At the same time, it's also like you're putting them on an island. There's danger going over the sides. There's beautiful vistas if you want it. And there's just that idea of it being, again, like an island.
Yeah.
Isolated, you can't get out of it, but if you go over the edge, you're dead.
Yeah. I appreciate the detail of him like taking a hit from like a mask, which I'm assuming is some kind of like medicine or, so like maybe adrenaline or some, just something to kind of keep him on his feet.
Yeah. So, some people have said that they think it's because the predators can't breathe properly in human on Earth level oxygen, which is true. You do see them having breathing problems whenever they have their masks off. But the director said that was supposed to represent that it was really injured and it was like taking oxygen or painkiller.
Yeah, that's how I always took it looking at it. So, I will say, Danny Glover, dude, you got the guy's spear, and he like tackles the predator with
why
the
didn't he
spear
run him
sideways.
through, right?
Yeah, man, that is such a vagina mouth. Oh man,
I honestly, the first time I watched this, I thought this was the ending of the movie.
Well, you almost could have right here if you wanted to. I mean, it wouldn't be way out of place to have this be the big finale.
Yeah, I genuinely thought that right here, he was going to grab that thing and like cut his own arm off, or something like that. But from here on out, they actually stopped using Kevin Peter Hall, and they start using a different stuntman.
Yeah, this guy is actually only had one arm. Right? Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the only thing about this sequence that's a little bit is there again the physics of the Predator hanging on his arm. He moves in a way where it seems very well. I'm going to use the word obvious that he's standing on something. the actor, and it's a little bit like they don't have enough tension on it. Where it's not the greatest job of kind of selling. You know, the weight that, I mean, they've established how heavy the Predator is, right? Where he's like going over the cars and like denting them in and everything. And the Danny DeVito is just like, Danny Glover's character just, holding him up by just laying there, he would have just rolled off because he's not holding on to anything else. It's just his body weight on the ledge.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is an interesting choice here. I feel like. Pacing wise, this is if I had to criticize the pacing of this whole sequence, this goes on a little long for I feel like is a comedy beat, along with also just like you want to like the peril of I know they've established he's afraid of heights earlier. You want to like the peril of having dealing with that, the comedy of the old woman while he's in his bathroom like turning plaster and glass into a first aid type thing. Dude, that's why you strap in your gun every time. And it's, this goes on for a while.
I get that, and you're not wrong at all, but I never had a problem with it.
I just felt like they get dragged a little bit. I feel like they could have made this about half the time, and it would have felt tighter.
Well, again, they really wanted to show off the Predator technology. So they wanted to have just front and center more of his toys. So now they're showing off, Mr. Fusion here. Where he can like take random debris and be able to turn it into almost like a cast.
Yeah.
But it's done in an alien way.
I think I would have enjoyed not enjoyed, but I would have done better with this if him doing this had resulted in like a clear he's able to do this part of the fight, or he's able to kind of like rally. Like there was some that him going through all this somehow resulted in how the fight turned out. But I feel like it doesn't really alter anything because they just end up he ends up running out. They end up down on the ship in a little bit of a a weird punch out when we get to there. But it doesn't affect the course of the story at all. So it's just a showcase for tech where it's just like, all right, well, so we're showing the Predator doing some more stuff that's new, but it doesn't alter the outcome whatsoever.
It's world building. They had the rooftop thing. They're explaining how he's getting down from the roof. I don't mind it. I like it. I think it adds a lot of good flavor to the movie. I like the little bit of comedy just to kind of have some fun with it. I've always found this scene interesting and fun.
Well,
but
you're allowed
that's
to be
wrong. And you got that backwards.
I
like this whole Jello scooping thing. I like that it's showing this. He's healing himself and how badly he's hurt.
Well, he's having to eat the leftovers that Nicholas Meyer made from Star Trek VI that William Shatner was making money eating. These are the leftovers. Is what he's doing here.
Oh, I don't remember there being that kind of blue stuff.
No, I mean, it was just the blue food. When we did Star Trek VI, there's the blue food that Nicholas Myers, basically he said, "I'll pay you $20 every time you eat it." And so Shatner, because he hated his cigars, like kept eating every take. Remember that?
That's right. Anyways, right.
Sorry, that is I really reached for that bit, but I love Star Trek, so
Blue goo.
It comes back with the broom. Although I think
that's really funny.
Yeah. I mean, a tough old Italian grandma, I do believe that there's like, just the Oh, that she's like, I'm gonna go for it. Oh, it's
See,
funny.
this is the type of stuff that I like being in a Predator movie, you know?
I don't think he gives such. Oh, it's good.
Like it's good. It's good shit.
It does make sense that his ship would have been right, underneath basically where he kind of was, home base, the slaughterhouse for going back for his, his snacky every couple days. So the fact this is all close actually makes perfect sense. They do the height thing twice though here, where like he had to get over it doing the drain pipe, and now he's got to get over it going down the elevator shaft.
Now the question you need to ask though, because this is where it is kind of like okay, that's a little hinky, is why did he go do his first aid right there? Like I guess that maybe he was just that injured. Why didn't he just go straight down to his ship? Though that might also be because there's other predators down there, and maybe his whole goal is that he needs to impress them.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Now, did he fall or did he let go?
I don't know.
Because I would definitely not let go if it was all, it was like, I mean, here he doesn't have a choice. I get it.
Yeah, it looked like a fall to me. I always took it as a fall. I always, I like the added detail that the thing suddenly lights up and starts activating when it's close, to the Predator ship here.
Yeah.
But the whole thing is like everything in those elevator shafts is greased to hell. The idea of him being able to hang on to something in there is almost funny. It's so wrong.
Now this ship design, I do love this. I think that it's cool, the reptilian nature, the dry ice on the ground. I mean, it's very alien. It's very, not aliens like the franchise, like just alien in general. And, like the idea that it's like murals, kind of like baked. It's like the technology is also like a painting in a way, like a massive cave painting, but it's also like the texture and how it's built. And this, but this is where there is a hit coming up here where the Predator like punches him, and it's like the weakest looking hit. Like there's no energy behind it at all. It looks like he barely grazes him, but Danny Glover reacts as though he had Mike Tyson hit him like at full force. It's just like a weird little, and again, it's hard to get the movement right, but in a second, I mean, he goes up, he sees the trophy. I think he sees the trophies here first, and before the Predator shows up when they start fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that's the case as well.
But it's yeah.
Yeah, that's trophy well.
So
did you see the?
So this would have been the Jamaicans head guy, Bill Paxton, and his best friend, right?
Would he have had time to put Bill Paxton on?
Oh no, he wouldn't have. So
yeah,
and there's the alien,
and what a lot of people think is a Rancor from Return of the Jedi.
So okay, so right here, I actually really like the fact that it makes sense with this thing that he would have been able to get out of this net. Okay, so coming up right here though, there's a hit here. And I'm curious if you look at it, it's just like it does not have any energy behind it. The way that it's edited, right there.
Yeah.
It was just like a weird like tap, but he like flew his head out of it. It's just like I don't know. Again, stunt work is hard, especially when you're working with a suit.
Yeah.
Man, this
and when that's not a stuntman scene, that's an actor scene.
Yeah, that's true. This would be scary though, because
yeah.
Now it's interesting. He doesn't extend his blades; he keeps them close. I guess it makes sense. You wouldn't want your blades really long because it would be like
what do you mean extend his blades?
Well, his blades like kind of pop out like a foot, right? They can like kind of pop out and then back in. Or is that my thinking of a Predator film?
That is only introduced in Alien versus Predator.
Okay. Oh, those are fixed. Okay, never mind.
Yep.
Ooh.
You see, there's the one scene where he's kind of like countering its blows that I thought was a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
For what he's able to do in fighting this thing. Otherwise, I actually really like the setup of this cop versus Predator. because you have the Predator significantly weakened, but you also have this cop who's getting properly thrashed and torn up.
Yeah.
Like, Schwarzenegger got batted around, but Harrigan here is in pieces. And I don't know, I liked it. I thought it was well deserved. It was one of my favorite parts of this movie.
Yeah.
But a lot of people disagree with that.
I don't actually mind the very end here. I think it's just it's just an interesting how we got here. I would have tweaked a little. The idea that he uses the Predator's own weapon against him, I like, and he never appears, and he does a good job of it. It's not like he all of a sudden like grabs it and like turns into like a martial arts actor or something. So I like that. I do think that the Predator's reaction of kind of like arms up in the air flailing a little bit is interesting. Like it again, it's like a weird, like, it almost seems comedy to me, even though, but they have to keep his his blade from going down into Danny Glover again. But no, I don't mind that, and I do think though that if you go back, I mean, we just watched it recently. I mean, they show it from the Predator's point of view, but Arnold gets the absolute crap beat out of him.
Yeah,
I mean, he takes some hits to the chin that are just like, dude, like you have a concussion. And then of course this is the big reveal, right? For like fans and lore building.
Mm-hmm. And several of these
LA Lakers,
here,
right?
Yeah, some of them are LA Lakers because they needed just really big, tall people to fill out the suits.
Didn't Danny Glover?
They all actually have. What?
Well, I was going to say he's like a big fan of the Lakers and like asked him basically. I think that's how the story goes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
They're all given names because they released action figures of them, and the action figures had like little lore snippets on the back of them, and they give them all names. There's like the Scout and the Shaman and Silverback and stuff like that. And they then gave them like little comic book entries in the Predator comics to give them backstories and stuff like that. And I don't know, I thought it was pretty cool.
It is a cool way to like. I mean, this is. I mean, way before Marvel ever was doing this, the idea of kind of teasing a universe expanding idea at the end of a movie. We've become so used to it now, right? But back then, this was not a thing. To put this at the end of a film, and it is a great little beat because they let it be what it is. They don't tell you very much. It's all showing, which I love, and it really is just the definition of a tease. Where you're like, oh, this is a big deal, and then they tell how long they've been coming here with the year on the flintlock there, and just is. I love the some of the effects work here with the dry ice is a little bit difficult.
But that was just the technology.
Yeah, just what they had. But the setup of this, I truly love. I think the ending of this movie is pretty darn good. And even here, like when he is walking out and just looking just all dusty, I like all that. It's interesting that we had to wait until Prey to kind of get the fulfillment of that flintlock.
Well, they did they did a comic book version of how they got the pistol. They did a different version in one of the novels. So the darn thing had like 4 different origins in Predator lore, as it were. And so I like that they gave it a definitive one.
Yeah. Once you put it on screen, that becomes like canon, right?
Yeah. It made another appearance in Predator Killer of Killers, the animated movie on Hulu.
I still need to watch that.
It has its ups and downs. Yeah. I enjoyed it.
I mean,
but it's got its issues.
Most Predators, right? But here, there is definitely
what's interesting?
Go ahead. No,
it's just one of those interesting things. The flintlock deal. Like, I specifically remember being a kid, and my dad would tell me about certain science fiction books or movies that I wasn't allowed to watch because they were too adult or something, but he liked what was in them, so he would kind of tell me stories like, oh, well, there was this one, and it did this. And I remember it really sticking out to me. He told me about this movie with the gun, and I thought that sounded really cool, and I really wanted to see it. And he said that he wasn't a big fan of it otherwise, but he thought that was a really cool science fiction thing. And that was like my first ever exposure to anything Predator.
I do like this. I mean, the ending with all the predators and all that's great. And then I think this is good of him, obviously showing the ship left here, and left the wake. He is properly, had a rough night, so to say.
Yeah.
And this little confrontation with just the little line he gets at the end, it's just it's well done. I like that the helicopter kind of naturally cleans him off just a tiny bit, but not so much that he doesn't just lose that really rugged, like the amount of dust on him. It's a good hero shot. It's a good hero ending, I guess I'll put it that way.
Well, this was another one of those things when they couldn't get Arnold Schwarzenegger back to play Dutch for the whole thing. They tried to get him back for just this scene, and he was they wanted a scene where it was just him at the end greeting him, and he's just like, "What happened to this person? Here, come to the chopper," Yeah. I thought that was kind of interesting.
You'll get another chance. And I mean, the Predator. We talked about this last week too. I love the Predator theme. It's not quite as memorable as some other themes from this era, but like, it's really good. And when it's used in this film, I think it's really good here. And I like just the ending. And it's
proper good.
Yeah. The police minivans pulling up.
It sounds a lot like The Mummy to me. I don't know.
Interesting.
Just kind of always been my thought.
But yeah, no, I mean, this is the kind of movie where anybody who like tries to act like it is a masterpiece or tries to rewrite history like this is some kind of just misunderstood masterpiece. No, it's not. There's legitimate issues with it. There's definitely limitations that it had. There are things it could have done better. But is this some like atrocious sequel? I mean, so like the some of the not comics, although sometimes maybe they're funny, critics of the day talking about how it's just like an angry film and it's mean and it's just ugly.
Yeah,
and
they described it as ugly and mean-spirited.
It's like, this is a freaking, like, the premise of this movie, if it wasn't those things, that would be weird. Like, it should be those things. You have a crime-ridden heat wave going through L.A. with a predator after everybody. Yeah, it's going to be mean and ugly and just, this isn't supposed to be like a rom-com. What are you guys talking about?
Yeah, I one of my favorite YouTube recappers loves going back to show old clips from Siskel and Ebert reviews.
Oh yeah, this is all over.
Yeah. And they had the Siskel and Ebert for this one, and the way that they're describing it, I'm like, what were you expecting from this movie? Are you expecting this movie to be The Godfather? Like, what is the metric at which Siskel and Ebert were judging movies? Because it's so ridiculous, the amount of things that they'd be just like, no, this movie was terrible because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And I'm like, did you want Predator Schindler's List edition?
Yeah.
Like,
no,
it pissed me off seeing some of those.
No, I weirdly, like, not weirdly, I really enjoy reading a lot of Roger Ebert's reviews and his thoughts on film. It's one of the more informative, influential figures in my love of film and explaining why, like, he was one of those guys who helped me understand, okay, this is why this movie is so good. Like, this is what's going on here. Like, his commentary that I listened to while I was watching Citizen Kane was like a big part of, like, okay, let me explain to you, like, this is why, because it may not be really easy for you to understand, but and stuff like that. I respect the heck out of him, but he definitely had that snobbery of just very rarely being able to understand or appreciate genres that he didn't like. And it was the idea of, like, if you don't appreciate this for what it's trying to be, you're just calling it objectively bad, which is, it's just inherently unfair. I'm a firm believer that you should evaluate a movie based on what it was trying to do and trying to be. And you can 100% then say, I don't like what that is trying to be. I'm not into that. I don't find that interesting, or I don't desire to watch it. But that's not fair then to then say objectively this film is that, because it's not my thing. That you owe it to art to judge it based on the intent And that doesn't mean you have to like it, but if you're going to have integrity as somebody who is being critical, you need to at least make the effort to differentiate to a certain extent.
Yeah, I hate the movie The Breakfast Club. Genuinely. I think that
Interesting
it's
choice,
one of those
but
things. Yeah, well, it's just that I'm trying to think of genres that I genuinely hate, because I even enjoy some rom-coms. I grew up with all sisters. I grew up with rom-coms, and there's things that are likable about them. I really hate kind of what you could describe as the especially the 80s and 90s, like teen movies. I think that they were horrible influences on teenagers and created an entire generation that didn't know how to actually be adults because they
who's the famous
gave the wrong messages to teenagers.
filmmaker that did all those? Oh, his name is
Yeah, I
escaping
know who
me.
you're talking about.
He did
Houston. No, Houston.
John
Houston?
Hughes. John Hughes.
John Hughes.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
But it's just like having watched The Breakfast Club, I'm like, okay, here's a bunch of people that people are going to relate to, and I don't like what they represent. I don't like what they're encouraging in kids, and because I was that age when I watched it and everything like that, I'm like, no, I don't. This isn't who I want to be, the type of person. Like, these aren't people I want to admire. But I also can't deny that it's a well-made, well-acted film, and it deserves to be given those accolades, even if I myself really don't like it. So for the amount of people who ripped into Predator 2 here, just to circle back to that, like, for being a brutal sci-fi action movie, I'm like, it's supposed to be. What do you want?
Yeah.
You know? I can't imagine some, like, highfalutin drama movie that, like, Saving Private Predator,
Yeah.
That's not really what anybody wants. The closest I can think of to us getting anything like that would be The Dark Knight. And that was a fluke.
Yeah.
And it's not even a good Batman movie. It's a great film, but it's not a good Batman movie.
Yeah, I completely agree, and I've I think I've said this in this podcast. I'm sorry if she ever listens to it. My mom and I have fought about this many times because my mom is somebody who definitely falls, unfortunately, into the category of if she doesn't like it, it's bad. And I've just I've tried to have this conversation with her many times, like, Mom, you don't have to like something to acknowledge that it's well done. We got into it about music.
My mom's a little bit in that camp too.
Yeah, we've done it about music a lot randomly. Like it was, yeah. Anyways, but just like the idea of like, Mom, I don't like this either, but that guy's talented. Like he can sing. Like, and there's really good technical achievements happening in the genre of music here. And anyways, it's just the all that. As much as I really respect Roger Ebert, and I've gained a lot of knowledge from him about film, he definitely, unfortunately, had, and it's weird because depending on when and where you read his reviews, sometimes he's fine with it, and other times it's like very kind of oddly random when he's like open to like, yeah, it's not my kind of thing, but I really enjoyed what they did here. And it's almost like if he randomly liked this version of a thing he usually doesn't like, he's really praising of it. But if it's something that he doesn't like and it's a genre he doesn't like, he lost his objectivity as a critic, I think, on a regular basis. And that might be heresy to some people because he is one of those, just Mount Rushmore figures of film critics and film like reviewing, but he wasn't perfect by any means, and that was one of his flaws. So anyway, I like this movie. I think this is, I mean, for me, it's I like Predators a lot, so this movie is still to me kind of the third. No, this would be the fourth because Prey is also really good.
Yeah, I almost considered this and Prey along the same lines as one another, though for different reasons, because I was trying to rank them in my head earlier as well. And this is still like number 3, because I really like Predators as well. I have a weird soft spot for Alien versus Predator.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it doesn't deserve to be on any type of trash heap.
No, there are plenty of, well, I mean, if you go into this year, I think that this is, and I don't hate Die Hard 2, but I don't think it's as good as this. Some people might hate that, but
No,
I
Die Hard 2 is the second worst of the Die Hard movies
yeah.
by a mile.
Yeah, but it's like for for some moments it still had Bruce Willis at least and a few things like that, but it wasn't as good as, I mean, it's a worse sequel than this was, and this is still a better sequel than RoboCop 2 is for sure. So
Yeah.
I think that in the summer of 80s action sequels, I think this was the best one of this year, and unfortunately it's the one that goes down. Not that RoboCop 2 is any kind of great love, but the only one of those three that were like financially successful to Die Hard 2 actually made a ton of money, but
Yeah.
this was. This is that weird, like, I think this is that almost perfect example of a movie that was way overhated at the time, has also been overcorrected as a masterpiece by other people, and in reality is just a good sequel that got a lot of things right, did a lot of world building, but also had a lot of rough spots to it, and that's how I would kind of leave this movie in my personal ranking or opinion.
Yeah, very much the same. And I think that I would like it better if I liked LA.
So, okay, really fast, because I actually don't know the answer to this, so we'll learn this together, listeners. If you were gonna pick like a city, I'm gonna make this a little bit simpler as far as just an American city. You wanted to set it in an American city that you enjoy, that you think would also work as a setting for like an action film. Like, what is your American city that doesn't bug you?
Well, the thing is, the three really big ones are Chicago, New York, and LA. And I've never been to Chicago, but I hate their accents. No, actually, that's Boston. Um, uh, but if I was gonna, I want it to be in something a little different. I want it to be in something that you don't necessarily expect. I like it when movies take place in San Francisco.
Yeah,
I
feel
think
like
that it's
Seattle
a
is
very
underused.
unique and yeah, I was gonna say that was literally next on my list. San Francisco, Seattle, um, uh, I wouldn't do Portland personally, but Miami, coastal city, New
Yeah.
Orleans.
Yeah, there hasn't been much in New Orleans. I think LA people just know is just like a traffic infested
Shit.
hellhole, and New York has landmarks that everybody knows about. And
Well, New York is also like the unofficial center of the civilized world,
Mhm.
according to many, many people.
it's definitely in the list. If you like the most important cities in the world, I mean, if you didn't put New York on that list, you would just be willfully ignoring it, even if you don't like it. But it's I think the distinct vibe that, I mean, if you go to New York, most people that have never been to New York just identify it immediately because they've seen it on so many sitcoms and so many movies and so many crime shows, and but
Any Marvel comic.
yeah. But yeah, I mean, Seattle is definitely, you got the Space Needle, but you've also got just a distinct feel there. Yeah, San Francisco, I mean, you've got Alcatraz, you've got the Golden Gate, and you've got the was it Tri-America? Is that the pointy building?
Well, it's not just the buildings.
Well,
it's
I'm saying
like
for the audience to know, like, to identify it, right?
the thing is, if I was making a movie like this, do you know what city I would use? I would use San Diego. I would write a Predator movie. If I was going to be setting it in an American city, I would have it set in San Diego, and you end up with the Predator hunting a whole bunch of off-duty Navy SEALs. And you make the main character one of their like trainers, one of the Buds trainers, who's realizing that these recruits and young SEALs and stuff like that during their downtime are being hunted down and murdered. And maybe he has some inside information and he knows what it is, but he can either like destroy his career by breaking OPSEC, or he can or he's afraid he'll be looked at like a kook and he goes out hunting it on his own.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, putting it
San
in a
Diego's
big,
interesting. It's got,
putting it in a big military city would be interesting for sure. Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. No, that was pretty much it.
If you're going for like a hot city, you definitely go down to like, you know, the Gulf. Yeah, New Orleans or
That is the thing that they've established, is that the Yuja like heat, which I think limits things, which I find unfortunate.
also just
You
set
can
it.
bend to that, I think.
Yeah, you could also. I think that if you, I mean, the first movie was set, you know, just in the jungle. You could set this in a city that's not in America and really do something interesting too.
Yeah, that's
Like-
what I was thinking at first. I mean, setting this thing in like London would be interesting because people don't carry weapons in London. You know, make it so that he's hunting very specific individuals, but it makes it really difficult to fight back because they're not properly armed.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, I mean, there's
That's-
definitely you could do a lot with I mean, the premise of just a predator's coming, and especially if you continue the escalation of the predator's prey, while also the government is getting better and more informed about how to try to catch one of them. So you kind of have an escalation, because then the predators almost are like dealing with a greater challenge because because they're aware they're being hunted by the government when they go, and so now it's like targeting while also, you know, like you could really come up with some interesting tension there where, you know, you develop the predator culture where it's like this actually just makes them more, not necessarily emboldened, but like, you know, just like the challenge is going up because now, you know, they know that their presence is known, and so
They're almost more excited.
yeah, like for them, it's like, oh no, now it's like I'm dealing with the people hunting me while at the same time going after this person I've identified or this group I've identified as being really interesting to hunt. So you could have, and as you move that around and dealing with, you know, an international, you know, government, you know, agency where you have, you know, different cultures and, you know, kind of the input of different, like, you know, the Russians versus the, you know, the Brits and the Israelis. And I mean, you could really, you know, like what Predators tried to do with kind of a group that was different, you know, made up of different, kind of a Rainbow Six for like Predator Task
Project
Force.
Stargazer.
Anyways, you could, like, there's potential there to just have some fun with it and also create something where you do have a similar but ever-changing situation. So anyways, this has been fun, and we will return to Predator at some point, but this has been a fun just two-parter. I mean, these definitely go together. They were made close to each other, and Predator definitely takes a jump because it doesn't come back on the screen until Alien vs. Predator, what, in like 2004 or 3?
In fact, it's the largest gap between when you're thinking of things like, well, with the exception of RoboCop, and I don't really put RoboCop on the same thing with like Terminator, Aliens, and Predator.
Yeah, well, it's not trying to be a continuity. There's no attempt at continuity with it with the RoboCop. It's just a straight up remake.
Yeah, but it's a 14-year break before it appears on the big screen again.
So, yeah, we're going to take a little break then too, but we will definitely revisit this franchise. So, looking forward to it.
Perhaps sooner than later, but not 14 years.
No. 14 years, we might actually be out of movies finally.
We won't even have gotten through Netflix crappy sci-fi backlog.
Oh, we're not dead. Okay, just shoot me. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
There's doors and corners, kid. If you don't clear the room, if you don't come in slow,